Okay, called to order the meeting for the ESS Coordinating Committee for December 12th, 2023. Do you want to do a roll call or are you just doing it by who you can see on the screen?
I defer to Census as she's the note taker here. So you want to do a roll call then, Census?
Yes, I do want to do a roll call.
Okay, all right, we'll start with a roll call. It's Nancy Booten.
Julie Haggerty, Polk County.
Lindsay
Loftus, Tyler, Web.
Jolene Goodchild, Plymouth County.
Lindsay Loftus, Tyler, Webster County.
Lisa Kent, Wapello County.
Natalie Steffener, Des Moines County.
Amy Assink, Floyd County.
Eric Sloan, ICIT.
Dylan Malone, Iowa Title Guarantee.
Stacey Harridge, Story County Recorder.
Ticket sets different.
Anyone
Oh,
else?
Sue, we are doing a
Melissa
roll call.
Bonson, Cedar.
Did Sherry speak up? I don't know if she's.
She said she's short staffed. She's listening and using the chat as needed.
Okay,
Okay.
I think that was everybody. I was kind of
Um,
trying to watch.
Jeff Shorts.
Hi, Jeff Short, Light Edge Solutions.
Okay.
And you have Kelly, so we should be good to go then. Okay, first up would be the approval for the coordinating committee summary from November 9th, 2023. Assume everybody's had a chance to look at that. If so, I'll take a motion, or if you have issues with it, let us know.
This is Melissa. I can move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second. Lindsay.
Okay, it's been moved by Melissa and seconded by Lindsay to approve the summary from the November 9th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Those opposed, no. Those opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, now we're going to contracts and agreements. First up, Phil, is the agreement for Enterprise Cloud Services, Light Edge.
Thank you very much. I want to just also start out by saying thank you to everybody for your willingness to have this special meeting today. I also want to thank the members of the Finance Subcommittee who have chosen to participate. We appreciate this. I think the importance of that is that the proposition that we're presenting to you today is a very significant technological step for the entire electronic services system and Iowa land records. It's not a trivial financial decision either. It does represent a significant shift in how we manage finances associated with the infrastructure for the operation of the Iowa land record system. And I think it's altogether fitting and appropriate that we have all of you with us today. I would remind the group that this is officially a meeting of the ESS Coordinating Committee, that while many of the Finance Subcommittee members are present, you'll not be asked to vote or to make any motions. That will be reserved for the members of the ESS Coordinating Committee. So with that, I am going to just give a quick overview. Some of the material I'm presenting to you was actually presented to us by Jeff Short. Jeff was with Light Edge. He has been I guess I'm going to call you the migration coordinator. And the introduction of this that I would offer is that some months back now, we had a failure in a backup for our firewall. And we went through a period of time where we were seeking to find replacement equipment and to work with Cisco to secure that replacement, and also with our technology partners at Orion, who often have provided support for the infrastructure, particularly during installation or when we were troubleshooting. I Kelly might say this a little bit differently, but frankly, we were having trouble communicating with Cisco, getting a timely response, uncertainty about when or if the replacement backup device would arrive or be installed, and it led us to conclude that maybe we needed to make a specific change because we were operating with only one firewall. And if that firewall went down, then we're basically out of business. That redundancy was not in place. Kelly might be able to give you, I'm sure he would give you a more accurate description, but that's essentially what was happening. That led us to have conversations with the folks at Light Edge. Light Edge is a data center in Altoona. They have data centers in different parts of the country, so they're not just a Des Moines company. We have been with Light Edge since we moved our equipment out of West Des Moines into their data center when we went through a very major shift at that time to modify how we were handling the equipment for the operation of the Iowa land record system. That is actually quite a number of years ago. As a result, we have had a fairly long-standing working relationship with the folks at Light Edge. They essentially have provided us with a rack for housing our equipment, and also the security that goes along with an installation and facility like that. So as we face this issue, we explored with them, as we have in prior years, the possibility that we might be able to secure managed services for them. And as you may recall, at a previous meeting this year, we did secure the approval of the ESS Coordinating Committee to transition away from owning our own and operating our own firewall equipment to securing that managed service from Light Edge. That led us to a bigger conversation. And I will say that basically in a 3-year cycle, and I'll go back a decade, it seems like every time that our equipment has been up for renewal or we needed to replace equipment, Kelly and I have had conversations about, should we move to the cloud? When should we move to the cloud? What are going to be the right circumstances that take us to the cloud? And the number one factor in every one of those conversations over the years has been, it's just too expensive. When we compared the cost of ownership and managing our own equipment, it always ended up during those conversations just to be more expensive to move to the cloud than compared to owning and operating our own equipment. So we had the conversation again. We said we're going to be moving to this managed firewall service. Maybe now is the time to revisit that conversation. And we had that conversation with Jeff and other members of the Light Edge team. Kelly and Jeff and other members of the Light Edge team went through a series of analysis of our current operating system, the load, the types of bandwidth that's required, the capacity of what we needed on our system, and to assess what would it take to move to the cloud and how much would it cost. And Jeff and Kelly can describe this in more precise detail, but the bottom line is that we received a proposal. Now, the slide that I'm showing you is actually dated November 27th, but the most recent version that I'm showing you in terms of the bottom line actually was presented to us on December 5th. So this is about a little over a week old at this point, but it is the result of numerous conversations and much planning done on the part of both the Light Edge team and Jeff, but also Kelly, who is with us here today. The first parts of this, which I have shared with you in the materials, is the analysis of what our current operation is, what the platform that Light Edge offers. This particular slide is a summary of the discussion of what we are currently doing, what the impact of that is on our business operations, and then what the potential solution would be, which would be essentially to move to the Light Edge Enterprise Cloud. As I've summarized with you before, there are potential benefits to this. One of them is that as we look at the total cost of ownership, it actually is, and in the current environment today, more cost effective for us to move to the cloud. It means that we can manage it from not a capital expenditure, but a month-to-month budget item. The other thing that it does for us is that instead of being as uniquely reliant upon one person, which is Shelley Wallace, our technical lead, we end up having a team of people associated with Light Edge who would be responsible for supporting and maintaining not just our firewall, but our storage equipment, our servers, and our internet bandwidth. And so this is the summary that was presented to us by Light Edge, and it really is a very simplified version of the planning work that has been done. The bottom line is that we spend, including the firewall service that we recently entered into, we're currently spending roughly $3,500 to $3,600 a month on our rack and our current service. So the question is, how much more would we need to spend essentially on a monthly basis than we currently do? And roughly that turns out to be in the range of about $4,000 more, $4,200 more, for a total monthly recurring cost of $7,981.25, as represented by the proposal submitted by Light Edge. There are certain things that we would stop paying for, and all of those savings are already built into the total amount. But things like rack space, well, we're not putting our equipment in a rack anymore. We're using those services. We're not running our local area network and all the things that go with that. That's just something that is incorporated in the overall service. And then the operation of the power associated with running our equipment, that becomes a Light Edge responsibility. So I don't want you to be misled and think that we're going to save that amount of money. The right way to look at this is there are certain things that are new that Light Edge would start doing for us going forward. And then if you look at the far left column of this particular slide, you can see that there are 3 items that would be continued as a part of the Light Edge service, primarily the firewall, which we recently added, and also the internet service. I need to stop at the overview. I want to hand it off to Kelly, but generally speaking, the analysis seems to suggest that we would, in the long run, be financially better off by moving to a cloud-based service as opposed to, once again, making a renewed capital expenditure. That if we did that, we would probably do that near the end of calendar year 2024. Historically, we have made that a capital expenditure that comes out of the reserve fund, and then we replenish the reserve fund. ongoing, particularly as we look beyond 2024. I would anticipate that we would be just making this a regular part of our budget. But for 2024, we're probably still looking at some expenditure from the reserve fund to bridge us from where we are today to where we want to be. I'm going to defer now to Kelly to add any additional commentary he wishes. The actual service order for entering into this arrangement is provided to you on pages 15 and 16. And the other thing I would point out about this is that we would be entering, if approved, we would be entering into a new 36-month agreement. All of our services would be aligned within the same time frame. The expiration of the overall agreement would expire in 36 months, and then we would have to have the conversation all over again about, do we renew, do we continue, do we do something different, do we move to a different service? All of those things would be done on a 3-year cycle. So, Kelly, that's my overview. We are bringing this to the committee for potential action today. Kelly?
Thanks, Phil. I really only have three main things to add. And our consideration of this probably goes back further than just the firewall issues we've had recently. It actually probably goes back, at least in my mind, to the IRS safeguards review that we did, back in 2015-ish. At that point, we found out that we really needed to do more in terms of security, and we needed to do more in terms of ensuring that our hardware was up to date and within a support agreement in all aspects, really from top to bottom, firewall, storage, servers, etc. So what that did was effectively shrunk our CapEx cycle, because the reality was that we were out of compliance if we did not have hardware that was under support by the vendor. So instead of going to 7 and 8 years and trying to stretch things out in terms of a hardware perspective, we're down to 4 or 5 years. And that's kind of a frustrating thing, but that's the reality of those regulations and where we were at today. So that has occurred more often the last couple times we've gone through a refresh than what it did the first time. So that's one of the issues that moving to the cloud would help us with, was we're going to be compliant in terms of hardware. And then Jeff could allude to this if he wants to mention it, but the number of security certifications that they have in their cloud are numerous, and they keep those up to date regularly because they have a team of people responsible for that. So that checks a large amount of work, takes it off our plate, and kind of they provide that service behind the scenes for us, and that is a big assist in my mind. The second thing I would mention is this year we hired the last couple of years we've hired external developers to do work. And this kind of goes hand in hand from about 2015 forward. I've spent a significant amount of time working on the security side and hardware side and doing some things on a daily basis that take time out of my day where I'm not able to do necessarily development work that I was really hired to do. So my time gets split there. And if you look at the budget that we've expended and the amount of dollars that we've expended the last couple of years on external assistance from a development standpoint, it's significant. So I see this as a potential trade, potential swap. I get to step back in and do more development. And that means maybe a couple more hours or 3 hours or even sometimes 4 hours a day more, that I don't have to go and spend time on the hardware side of the fence, reviewing things that needed to be reviewed, and verifying that the hardware's up and functioning and all this. So it is a significant swap of responsibility there. So that turns out, when you throw that in on top of this, and it's not listed here anywhere. It is actually listed in one of the things, I guess, at the top of the proposal, that we could do more development work. But that is also a big plus I think we see going forward. And then the last thing I'll mention, like Phil said, is the project is growing up a little bit. We played a big role during the pandemic, keeping business open, and it's been going on for a few years now. So it's time to move on from a one-man show, and keep this thing going, down the road. Phil likes to use the analogy of what happens if you get hit by a bus, and frankly, I don't know, and we don't really have a good plan for that. But having a team and a business behind supporting the infrastructure of the business and the site is certainly something that I think we all want to see going forward, put us on more solid footing. So those are three big things. And like Phil said, we've been talking about this for a while, and periodically we would go ask for a review of pricing. And it has come to the point that things look pretty even going forward. The big change being, obviously going from a CapEx to an OpEx expenditure. That'll be a bit of a difference that we'll have to keep an eye on. But all in all, it looks like a good time to make that move. And, the last thing I'll say is, we're attempting to do this before we step back into a refresh cycle. Come in March, we're looking at significant support contracts going forward for nearly all of our hardware and some of our software renewals. So as we talked about that, I think it was March, right, Phil? I think that was when a lot of those were going to begin to come due. So a significant amount of dollars were going to go towards that. And the interesting thing about that, right, is when you get to the end of your hardware life cycle, unfortunately anymore, that hardware does not become cheaper because your support contracts, as that hardware gets older, the support contracts are going up on the back end because it's a little more risky to keep those operating, and the vendors supporting it want to be sure that they continue to make money as well. So we were going to be looking at some significant contracts going forward. So it seemed like a good time to investigate this and put this in front of the committee. That's all.
Thank you, Kelly. I just want to mention that Jeff Short from Light Edge is with us. He's available to answer any questions. Jeff, your video visible, give everybody a wave to let you know what you look like if you are on camera. Or say hello if you want to.
Hi, everybody.
So we are available to answer any questions. It's not lost on me that, in the normal course of business that, we would have discussions about this for a few months and then we wait till the next quarterly meeting. The issue we're facing right now is that we were able to get the research done now, and when we come to February, I'm looking at another $12,000 license renewal and support agreement expenditure that we probably could not avoid if we waited that long. And as Kelly mentioned, there are other expenditures following behind that. So it seemed like the time is right. In a perfect world, I would definitely allow for and want to have more time for everybody to deliberate. But this is the window that we have, and I appreciate everybody's patience. We're happy to answer any questions that you have.
I have one quick question. I'm sorry if I missed this in the packet, but is that 36 months, is that a locked in rate at this 7,981.25? It is.
Sorry, Phil.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, if that question is directed towards me, it would be. Yeah, absolutely. So that's one of the benefits of this move is a predictable monthly cost. So yeah, you would have the same monthly cost month over month for 36 months.
Okay, thank you.
And just to back that up, Jeff, can I caveat in that is noted towards the top of the proposal was we have a 90-day what we're calling a right sizing period. So we will continue to work to verify once things are migrated to verify that we have the resources that are necessary to operate. There's potential, right, that number could go both ways. At this point, we think it's probably on where we need it or on maybe the higher end even, because we're shedding a little bit of infrastructure internally to probably keep the price where it is or maybe just a bit lower. So it shouldn't move much from that at all. Tell me if I'm wrong, Phil or Jeff. But
no, you're spot on, Kelly, and you're right. That's something I actually should have mentioned. The last page of that presentation, there's some proposed contract language that helps intended to help our clients be able to make an efficient migration without a bunch of like cleaning up of technical debt prior. So that first bullet point that's labeled as true down is meant to facilitate our clients' ability to migrate the workloads into our cloud and then assess resource utilization given tools that we actually provide in our cloud portal. So where they can see something like maybe one server has too much memory and it's not using it all. That way, Kelly can go in and determine whether or not you could lower the resources applied to that server, therefore in turn lowering your monthly cost. And there's a second bullet point meant to give you a trial period so that you can prove out performance over the first 90 days of existing in the cloud model. That way you can make sure, look, if our applications aren't performing the way we should, if our end users are experiencing unnecessary latency or problematic latency, then you can actually, without any penalty, just migrate back to your hardware and, you know, pretend the whole endeavor never happened. So it's basically an out for you to terminate the contract for, you know, well, it's labeled without cause. So what that would mean is if you don't like it for whatever reason, you can roll it back and we'll help you with that.
Just for the record, Jeff, it's going to work and we're going to turn the clock back, okay? So I don't want you to be giving yourself an out either here. And I think, to me, the most significant part of the proposal in terms of cost savings is, and for reasons that only Jeff can explain, but you know, there is no migration project cost. You know, it's not uncommon for, you know, a firm to say that, you know, hey, we're gonna have to charge you X thousands of dollars, you know, to do the work just to get this set up, and then you can have your, you know, your standard monthly cost, and you know, Elijah just in this proposal rolling all that into the monthly cost, and you know, we're not going to have to worry about that. The next item on the agenda is an example. You know, we have a firm that says, well, we'll take over your office IT, but we're going to have X number of hours of project time to, you know, to get you set up, and then you'll be on your month to month. And in this particular case, I'm not saying the cost isn't there, but it's not there as a separate charge. It's sort of baked into everything that is being proposed. So to me, that's the biggest benefit of the way this is structured, because I know that we're not really going to have to use that early termination clause because Jeff is doing the work, right?
It is, and you know, just for sake of my history, just so you know a little bit about me, I've been in this helping clients migrate to the cloud for 10 years, and I've done dozens and dozens of projects like this where we've seen successful outcomes, and in instances where we've used language that allows for early termination, I've never seen it actually employed because it is generally successful. Usually there's some tweaks once you get over, and that's what that first true down bullet point is meant to facilitate, both from a cost perspective, but also from a performance tuning perspective. So, you're moving on to new hardware, and you're moving into a model where that hardware is refreshed regularly, and it's also enterprise grade. So most of our clients, when they make this migration, they just immediately see a performance impact in a positive direction, just because of the fact that it's more enterprise grade, it's more modern, more often refreshed, and in most cases, more redundancy is built in as well. So there's less likelihood for potential failure due to one of your hardware components having an issue.
Makes sense. Thank you for that. I will comment real quick, Nancy. I think this seems like it's a lot of what we hear about is going to the cloud, and this is kind of the way it's going. And I think this is something that we would benefit from as an organization. Eric, are you on with ICIT?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end of that question.
No, I didn't ask the question. I just want to make sure you're on. Is there's some of this that is a little over my head from the technical standpoint. Does everything make sense and look good from an IT perspective?
It makes sense to me. With the loads that ILR and the position that it has and everything being, me being at the county, I've got all of my customers, all of my stuff is right here in this building. I haven't been sold on the cloud for my loads, but as far as ILR being with the web presence and being internet and statewide and 99 counties, or almost all 99 counties, I think that moving to the cloud, and you're getting to the point where it's important enough that you need more than one person in Kelly to take care of it all and to monitor uptime and to make sure everything is working. And I think that it does make good sense to be moving those kind of loads into the cloud.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Does anybody else have any questions? I'm sure that Phil and his team have done a great amount of research on this, so I'm confident in what they have submitted for approval. And I know that Light Edge has had a good name. We used to have them here until we changed some things, but if not, will somebody want to make a motion to approve the Light Edge contract?
This is Lindsay. I'll move to approve.
This is Julie. I'll second.
Okay, Lindsay has moved and Julie seconded to approve the Light Edge contract as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, Phil, you want to go ahead?
Thank you, everybody. Moving on, this is not nearly as big of an agenda item, but it is associated with the discussions that we've had in the recent months about looking at all of the things that are costs associated with the operation of the system, including our administrative team. As we reported to you, both the finance subcommittee as well as the full ESS committee, we did issue an RFI in October to begin looking at alternative service providers for our office environment. We did interview about 7 different firms. We narrowed it down to 2. And based on after checking references, we are making a recommendation to select Iowa Solutions. It's a company that is actually based in their headquarters is based in Hiawatha, Iowa, but they do have an office here in Clive. And essentially, I would offer the following as rationale for choosing them. First is on a month-to-month basis, they really are one of the few firms that showed capability and also the ability to stay within our monthly budget that was recently adopted. They do have a project cost in terms of onboarding, but it is among the lowest of the firms that we interviewed. Their reference spoke highly favorable of them, and there are things that they have the capability to do, including support of our Office 365's account, as well as the use of Proofpoint for our email filtering. That would be familiar territory with all of the members of our team. It did involve both Lisa and Kay in the review of the proposals, and it would be my intent, if you approve, that we would address the onboarding startup cost out of the reserve fund, and then revert to the operating budget for the month-to-month expenses, which you can see the recurring items are within the budget that was approved by the coordinating committee and the finance subcommittee. And then that amount should be further adjusted downward if we adopt the companion MOU amendment between ESS and Enterprise Iowa. And well, I'm not asking you to act on these directly or at the same time. I do want to just explain what that is all about. And that is that at the previous meeting, we said, okay, we're going to set the stage that if ESS ever wants to change offices, that they can. And the only condition is if either party wants to make a change, to give the other 90 days notice. And as I shared with the finance subcommittee at their meeting earlier this month, at some point it's going to happen. It's inevitable. Nothing lasts forever, and there may need to be a change. And I think we've set up the conditions for that to happen. But while we're here in their current location, the firewall, the switch to wireless access point are really part of Enterprise Iowa's responsibility in terms of providing office space. And it is only appropriate that, kind of given that circumstance, that we clarify that Enterprise Iowa going forward would be financially responsible for those pieces of the infrastructure. At any point that ESS decided to leave to different office space, well, at that point in time, that's a different conversation, and you may or may not have to deal with firewall or wireless access point issues. It just depends on where you go and what's included and what's not. But the way we're set up here, it makes the most sense from my point of view that Enterprise Iowa assume that expense. And so I would anticipate that if you approve of the MOU amendment, that the actual monthly expense is going to be less than what is represented here for Iowa Solutions. Lisa, you are with us. I don't know if Kay is on as well. Would you like to add any commentary in your review on the proposals that we received?
I agree with Phil's recommendation to move forward with Iowa Solutions. Kay and I did sit in on interviews with both Iowa Solutions and another organization, and felt that both of them could provide the service that's required for our team, but we're comfortable with Iowa Solutions, and we like the low cost of the startup fees. So I would recommend approval if the committee agrees.
I agree as well. They seem very confident. They'll provide the services that we need. Their pricing is great.
Okay, are there any questions?
What do we currently spend on this? Is this part of what Kelly does on the daily too, and that kind of?
No, this is primarily related to the PC devices that are used by the administrative team here in the office, or even those who work part-time remotely. Our development team, including Kelly, have never provided any support for the devices. Our current vendor for a number of years has been all covered associated with Tonic and Minolta, and we had reached a point where we needed to consider a change in the service provider, and their cost structure is just outside of the budget that was approved. So I have notified all covered that we will be changing service providers, not getting into who, but have given them notice that we will be making this change.
Can you give an idea of that cost difference, Bill?
Roughly, all covered, even on a good month, has been about $800 a month. Sometime more than that, depending on the special projects that they have done. So that I would say we're going to save at least $200 to $250 a month making this move.
So this is Julie. So my understanding is that there's a one-time charge of $15.55 and our monthly charge is going to be $415 as opposed to the $850 approximately that we're spending.
Generally speaking, that is the right way to look at it. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? We have a motion to approve the contract with Iowa Solutions.
This is Julie. I moved to approve the contract with Iowa Solutions. Unless there are other questions?
Could we repeat?
So Julie moved.
Julie moved.
Yeah, census of benefit, please repeat that.
Jolynn seconded in the chat pod.
Jolynn seconded. Okay, so Julie has moved and Jolynn has seconded to approve the agreement with Iowa Solutions for IT services. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, next is the MOU at the.
And again, this while there's several introductory paragraphs, the amendment to the MOU would just simply clarify that Enterprise Iowa, will be responsible financially for the maintenance and operation of the office firewall switch and the wireless access point.
Anybody have any questions on this MOU amendment? If not, do I hear a motion to approve this?
Can you help me understand this a little bit more? So are we trying to go away from that? Or am I not understanding something correctly?
A fair question, because it does get confusing sometimes. But under the current MOU, it is ambiguous as to, okay, is this a Enterprise Iowa or is this an ESS responsibility? And with the budget that has been approved, and given that we now are kind of setting the stage for a relocation to occur at some point in time, I wanted to be clear beyond the shadow of a doubt so that everybody understood that we will cover that expense, not ESS. And so this should actually end up being a cost saving for ESS going forward into 2024. It just seemed like the right thing to do, and so it should end up reducing that monthly cost further.
And this regards the firewall.
Right.
And the wireless access.
So that, the firewall is connected to my wall. The internet is coming through that. ESS is already contributing financially to pay for the base internet cost, but we, in a de facto way, can transition management and financial responsibility to the firewall already, because it's part of the fixture of the office environment. You know, you're not going to take the firewall with you. It's just not one of those things. And then the wireless access point, you know, is connected to the switch infrastructure that is a fixture in the building. So it doesn't make sense to say that's the ESS's responsibility. This just clarifies it beyond the shadow of a doubt about which side of the fence these things are at, and make sure that everybody understands that, you know, that is sort of a landlord responsibility, not the tenant responsibility, so to
Okay.
speak. Yeah. So
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, if not, do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. This is Julie.
Okay, Lindsay has moved and Julie seconded to approve the
That's correct.
Amendment 5 to the MOU. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. Motion carried. All right,
Uh,
next up, go ahead.
Thank you, everybody. Just two quick updates. First of all, I'm going to ask Lisa and Kay, who have done the principal research in terms of alternative office space, not asking for action, but they have a quick update for you. And there is a spreadsheet in your packet that shows some of the results of the research they've done so far. Lisa, okay?
Yeah.
I can
So
jump
if
in,
if
Lisa.
you look at the
Kate,
top
go ahead.
line, I'm sorry, Lisa. If you look at the top line, it shows the Windsor offices where we're currently at. And so right now we are paying for 4 offices. So there's the cost there. And we're considering after the first quarter moving to 3 offices, which would put 2 people to an office other than Lisa. We feel she needs her own office and she's on the phone so much. So those are the costs we're kind of comparing to when looking at other office space. The only ones that really seem to fit well for us and within the budget we're looking at, they're at Regis Foxborough. What's attractive about that is everything's provided. Furniture, any other additional cost, it's all provided, including phone and internet. So I just wasn't sure with Phil being comfortable with using another phone or internet service, or if he wanted us to contract that ourselves. So that's why I left that price in there. But we may be able to take that cost out, that $460 for the phone and the internet. So that one is within our cost. The Merle Hayes Center one is a nice space and would suit our purposes at the $3,426. But it would require us purchasing furniture, hiring movers. And also there might be some work that needs to be done for a little bit of build out that would cost us up front. And Westtown Parkway was out of the question. The next one that's suitable is One Corporate Place. You could see the Suite 210. It's a very nice space and comes in at the right pricing. That one, again, we would have to purchase furniture, and there may be some build out for that just because it's a pretty open space. So we might have to put in some walls for that. So that would be an upfront cost. The other one that's very suitable, Fairwood is within our price budget, but there's very limited conference room availability. The parking was a little more limited, so it wasn't quite as attractive as a space. Now, Ridgemont, that comes in very low. It's all set to go. It's a very nice space, 5 offices, a large room for conferences, conference room available. And so that's the other one. But again, we would have to purchase furniture, which would be an upfront cost. So those are the ones we kind of honed in on that might be appropriate for us, that would work well for us if moving is in the picture. All of them but Regis would require the purchase of additional furniture because most of what we have here, except for a couple of cubes, belongs to the landlord. So if you have any questions or if you want any additional information about those spaces, I definitely have that for you.
Are these additional spaces 3 and 4 offices? Is that how I can't line this up exactly?
So Regis, and it's a very attractive space, and with it having furniture and everything provided is a very attractive option. One of the drawbacks is it's a public hallway. So we would actually each be in our separate offices along that public hallway with other people. And so everybody, it would be 3 offices where, you know, Lisa would have her own space, but the rest of us would share. And then when we go in the public hallway for to meet with one another. There's plenty of conference space that's available there for meetings though.
So Kay, you, out of the, between Windsor and Regis, you are liking Regis?
I do like Regis. I think it would work for us. We would be sharing office space, but in a much larger office. So we won't be quite as cramped. And it because it has everything available. I mean, there's just would be no upfront cost for us to purchase furniture or build out. And they have ample conference space that's available. And I also like the one I visited today. For the cost, it would actually be 5 separate offices. So everyone would still be able to have their own office. And that includes our own private kitchenette and private restrooms as opposed to public restrooms. And that one comes in about at a good cost. That's the one on Ridgemont. I think it's on the 2nd page.
Mm-hmm.
And if you stay with Windsor, and 4 offices would be still cheaper than Regis by a little bit.
Correct. Unless the thing with Regis is I'm not sure that we'll still have to pay for phone or internet. That's a discussion that, you know, Phil has to think about if we want to, because they do provide a phone for every office and internet service. So we would need to decide if that would be appropriate for us to be on their internet and to use their phone services. That would take $460 off of the cost.
Of Windsor? Are you talking about Windsor?
Regis.
Oh, okay.
Julie, Windsor is where we're at now.
Right, I understand. So
Yeah.
would you be in a different office or just in the same building, or you just stay where you are?
Yeah.
Just stay where you are.
I'm sorry, I don't
Yeah.
understand the question fully.
Oh, I just want to make sure I understand. Windsor is where you are right now, but it's not going to be in a different office. You're going to be right where you are.
Correct. We would, the only thing we're thinking of is going down to 3 offices where we're sharing an office.
Okay. And would we, so, and what's the advantage of going to Regis then? I'm sorry, it would be, because if needed, we would need to add internet and phones. Where at Windsor, we have internet and phones, right? So you're going to find that.
Correct. But the cost would be $3,093, not $3,553.
Got it. Is there, I see an advantage for you staying where you are, but maybe I'm missing something, so.
We do too.
Mostly, I think so.
Yeah, mostly just the upfront cost of purchasing furniture or build out cost.
I see a message from Stacy. Could we possibly ask Isaac to see if they have office space to share? Just another option to consider. She had a conversation with Travis, who said the auditor's affiliate has an office at the Isaac HQ.
I think that's just one, isn't it? Yeah. I'll have to ask my auditor. She's busy.
We can ask that question, absolutely. We are not making a recommendation today, but if we were, I think that it would be that we stay where we are. I think Regis is attractive, but from my perspective, it would be a public hallway. So now we're self-contained. So if I get up and walk down to talk to Corey or go to the restroom or something like that, I don't have to feel any security about who's going to jump into my office while I'm gone, you know, that kind of thing. And it's right down the street from us. So I don't think it's in a bad neighborhood or anything like that. It's just different because it is much more public. But it's something for us to consider thinking about. We think maybe we have to come back to the top 3 and maybe have a little team field trip and go look at things, and then make a recommendation. And then the agreement says we would need to give Phil 90 days notice if we decided to move.
Do you know how many square feet are at Windsor and Regis?
Phil, can you address how many?
What is it, 2,070 square feet, Phil?
Yeah, I'm trying to stay out of this conversation here.
Okay.
You're fine to answer.
You're doing a really good job.
But the short answer is we have say all combined, including the conference room, a little over 2,000 square feet.
And do we know what Regis has?
No, because they do not rent by square feet. They rent by office. The cost is per office.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of in favor of staying where we are, but if you guys want to check out that other and make your recommendation, I'm fine with that. Is everybody fine with that, or?
Nancy, I agree with you. I think for right now, staying where we're at is a good idea, just for less movement, less change. Looks like we got a lot going on.
Yeah, amen.
And we would be close
again,
to Enterprise, which is part of us in a way. I just think that it works for right now. Unless I don't really see any really huge advantage to move right now, but that's where I'm at.
Me either.
I think this makes sense also to stay at Windsor. I would like to explore, however, moving from 4 offices to 3 offices. That is quite the cost saving measure. And if we can do that, I think that would be beneficial to us.
Yes.
It's just my 2 cents.
I agree. And I think it's easy to get to this office, and the parking is always plenty for everybody that comes. So yeah, we can talk about or they can maybe let us know more about the 3 versus 4 offices, how they think that would work.
Right. We'll bring that to you at the February meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Anything further?
That was just that was just a discussion. Did anybody else have anything else? Okay, if not, next is a discussion on the point of sale system.
Yes, I just want to make one comment, and that is, please, everybody, this is perfectly natural conversation about office space as part of the evolution, so do not fear or think that there's some undercurrent going on. It's just a natural thing to talk about. And, we have been looking at budget savings, I think everything appropriately is on the table. So I'm not uncomfortable with your conversation at all. And speaking of budget savings, we, as a part of our review, have been doing a review of our current point of sale system. I think one of the things that pushed us in this direction, or maybe 2, is just to take a look at how much we're spending on our merchant fees with our current vendor, and is that the right amount, and could we do better in some other way? And then the other part of it was that the whole conversation about how are we going to address the replacement of the terminals and the equipment once it reaches end of use of life. Is that going to be an ESS responsibility? Is that going to be the responsibility of the individual counties? So based on that, we initiated a discussion with our current vendor for e-submission credit card and debit card payments, and that is a company located here in Des Moines called Professional Solutions. We've used them since we went through the RFP process. I think back in 2017 is when we did that, and chose the vendors, and we chose PSFS, or Professional Solutions, to be the vendor for our online payment for e-submission for customers who use credit and debit cards. We chose Bank Card USA, which is located in California, as our vendor for the point of sale system. And everybody knows the history of that. So we approached Professional Solutions as a current vendor to say, you know, if you were to help us with the point of sale system, what would that look like? And so we've had several rounds of discussion with them. And what I can report to you today is that we would be in a position potentially to have them, if we wanted to, take over the point of sale system. I would say that based on the research that we've done, that we should not expect to save a lot of money. Basically, we confirmed that, what we're paying for seems to be what the market rate is, and we wouldn't necessarily save a lot of money by changing vendors. The last data point I saw suggested that we might save 5%. So it's not a huge difference, but we would potentially save a little bit of money. There is a potential benefit of if we switch vendors, that there might be a mechanism where we could replace everybody's terminal at no cost to the county. That is a part of the conversation that we've had. And so yeah, I think it is worthy of consideration. Another aspect of it is that at least in recent history, there have been a few more glitches and bumps in the road and hiccups in the system in terms of generating reports or getting distribution files done that caused us to say, you know, could we do things a little bit better and maybe have a little bit less hassle and frustration for participating counties if we were to change. And so that has caused us to look at some alternatives. So where we are at right now is I would anticipate that that research will continue, and that by the time you have your February meeting, we would be in a position to at least make a decision about, do we want to stay with our current vendor or change, or potentially consider a proposal from our point of sale, I should say our online credit card vendor, Professional Solutions, such that you could make a decision to make a change at your February meeting. So we aren't done with the research, but I wanted to give you an update that there is a potential for changing service providers, that we likely would not save a huge amount of money, but we might save around 5%, and we might have a path to replace and maintain the terminal equipment for each of our participating counties with at least a minimal amount of investment, not a huge investment on the part of the individual counties. So that's my update on that. I would say look for more information as we get into January and prepare for the February meeting. Lisa and Kay, do you have anything you want to add to that? Kay's been doing most of the number crunching on this. Kay, do you have anything you want to add?
Nope, you've been very thorough. It's all covered.
Okay.
This
I
is
have a
Lisa. I'll jump in. Well, let me finish real quick, Nancy. I would say that the customer service that Professional Solutions can provide, because it is local, an office I drive by several times a week, I think we would benefit from that. And we do like Ahmed, who is our representative, but they've always provided really good service. And so I look forward to continuing discussion on this.
Okay, I just had a couple of questions. Those counties that have more than one machine, you think they would still get? I think Lynn County has 6, you said. So would we get one probably replaced, or would it replace all of them?
Oh, well, I think the right answer is at least one. Okay. But there probably is a discussion that has to occur before we finalize that.
Nancy, I specifically asked that question in our most recent conversation when Ahmed was in our office, and he said, yes, they would provide all of them.
Oh, that's great. And my other quick question was, there won't be any effect on this Lynn County deal now. Will that all have to be anything done with that situation?
No, that would not be affected by that at all.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all.
And that's all we have for you today. We just wanted to give you an update on that. So there's research being done. I think the main thing, you know, you could say that we should have been doing this all along, but the whole process of going through the budget and having to tighten the belt as much as we have had to do really has compelled us to just kind of look top to bottom of where can we save, what can we do differently, and these are just a couple of the areas that I think are appropriate to look at. So I appreciate the support of the committee. I mark to stay on your calendar because it's a huge sea change to say we're going to go to the cloud. That's a big deal.
Big deal.
So thank you for your support.
Are we gonna go over pages 24 through 28? It's not on the agenda, but it's in our packet.
That would be the legislative modernization of fees.
Oh yeah,
thing.
I'm sorry. I wasn't planning to go over that, but thank you, Lindsay, for the nudge there, because we just wanted to say that the fee planning work group is scheduled to have their first meeting on Thursday. We're looking forward to that discussion. And we're going to start out by doing what you do in a planning process and ask for everybody's input, and then walking through basically some basic information about what the inflationary impact has been, and then deciding what the next steps are going to be. So looking forward to the discussion. Don't expect any huge decision making as a result of this first meeting, but we're looking forward to getting it started. And Nancy and Megan and Stacy, we've had conversations about kind of how we want it to go, and we're looking forward to it. I would defer to Stacy and Nancy if you've had any updates on this, but this is a charter document that we put together to just say, what are we going to do? What does this look like? And how are we going to do it over the course of the next 6 months? And it's a description that we shared with the working group, and we felt that it should be shared with you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you have any comments, Linda, you can send those to me. That's fine, or to Stacy, or both of us. And Megan as well. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the meeting on Thursday to get this ball rolling. Does anybody else have anything for the committee? Thank you all for coming. Our next meeting is scheduled for February 15th, 2024. And if there's nothing further, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.